The big Terence Crawford, Jeff Horn fight coming up on Saturday. And now to speak with us about more on this fight, we bring in the VP himself of Boxing Ops for Top Rank, Mr. Carl Moretti. Carl, we appreciate the time. How are things going tonight? Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks. Enjoy being here. Things are going real well. We're really looking forward to Saturday, starting to rev up. And, can't wait for the bell to ring and see what actually happens in this fight.
What do you anticipate happening, Carl, once things get going Saturday night? People are looking forward to this, obviously. Big ratings to come, I'm sure, as well. What are some of your initial thoughts as far as both guys go coming into this event?
I think, you're going to see a much bigger guy in Jeff Horn to his advantage. Terence just moving up to the welterweight division after literally cleaning out the junior welterweight division. But I think with Horn, you're going to see a guy that probably has a 10 to 12-pound weight advantage and is just physically the bigger guy. And it's going to be up to Crawford to, he's more talented, he's more skilled. He's going to have to use that in order to beat Horn, who will probably be there all night. We know he's a tough kid. We know he can take a punch. And his style is just awkward and pressure. So for Crawford, it could start in round one. And that's what's so interesting is how is he going to stick to his game plan? Is he going to have to fight a different fight? That Horn makes him fight a different fight? And that's really the intriguing part of the fight.
And Carl, we watched Jeff Horn defeat Manny Pacquiao, and that was very impressive what he did. And you have Terence Crawford here who's dominated clearly, like you said, his division, and now he's in the welterweight. Will this be his biggest challenge of his career, do you think, as of far?
I don't know if it's his biggest challenge because I still there's a lot to be written with his career. I think unifying at 140 was a big challenge. Every time he steps in the ring and he gets a bigger name, it's a challenge because you got an X on your chest and, you're going to get the best from the other guy. Physically, it's probably the biggest challenge for him. Talent-wise or anything else, I don't know yet. We'll see what holds down the line. But, what it is it's the first challenge in the welterweight division, and that's what I think is what everybody is, interested to see is this move up to 147, is a pretty big step. 135 to 140 isn't that big, but when you jump up to 47, you're fighting big welterweights like Horn, who are actually probably middleweights by the time they get into the ring, and I think that's the interesting part here.
We're talking with Carl Moretti, the VP of Boxing Ops for Top Rank here on Behind the Mic, getting ready for the big Crawford-Horn fight coming up on Saturday night. Who's got more to gain with a big victory on Saturday, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I never really looked at that. It's, what they have to gain, I guess, is, Horn is the idol of his nation, literally, in Australia. Yeah. And he can quiet the critics, because some people think that he didn't beat Pacquiao, he didn't, he was lucky to get the decision. I don't know about that, but a win over Terence Crawford, he really puts himself into some big sweepstakes. Crawford has a lot to gain in that, he'll keep his pound-for-pound title, and he'll really establish himself as one of the best, if not the best, welterweight right now. So there's a lot on the line for the winner for sure.
I'm looking at that Terence Crawford, and you see if he defeats Jeff Horn, which, it would be it's going to be huge. But doesn't that put him in the mix of talking to him, fighting like Errol Spence Jr. or Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, those guys? That puts him right in there, don't you think?
Well, if I heard you right, just the other welterweights that are out there.
Yeah.
Spence fights his mandatory the week after, June 16th against a relatively unknown Mexican fighter. Mm-hmm. Everybody anticipates him to handle it, with ease, probably in Dallas. Porter and Thurman are scheduled to fight in early fall. What happens after that? Who knows? But I think it's just a matter of time between the winner of all these fights will meet each other, probably at some point in 2019, let's hope.
Absolutely.
What's the state of boxing right now, Carl? Kind of in the post Floyd Mayweather era now. Boxing kind of goes into this era. It's kind of uncharted waters in a sense. There's different guys, a lot of up-and-comers, obviously. Are you content with where boxing is at right now? Are you excited for what's to come around the corner for some of these guys?
Well, I think it's in a great position. The commitment from ESPN has been tremendous. The commitment that still lies with Showtime and other networks is still there. And I think you see, boxing really, as long as the good fights are made, it's going to be fine. I mean, Floyd Mayweather had his time. He's retired. People should just let him enjoy retirement because that's what he's doing, and enjoy what you see out there now with pound-for-pound fighters all around. Last month we had a terrific event at Madison Square Garden with Vasil Lomachenko and Jorge Linares, and each month you're getting quality fights all around the world. And I think if people, instead of complaining or worrying about what was, just look, be thankful for what you have, because boxing really is on a roll right now, and that's good for everybody.
And Carl, with the fight coming up this week, who's on your undercard that's also going to be great to watch and see? Just you talking about where boxing is right now. I mean, there's been lately in the sport of boxing been some great undercards, and I know you guys put on a great event yourself. Who's on your undercard that is also there that people need to watch out for as well?
Well, there's a good lightweight fight to open up the card between Jose Pedraza and Antonio Moran from Mexican. Not the biggest names in the world, but two competent, good lightweights the winner will probably challenge Ray Beltran, and eventually, maybe it gets to a Lomachenko fight. But I think on every card you see, there's a young kid, two young kids on our card, Shakur Stevenson from Newark, who's 7-0 or 6-0, I believe, who's, was an alternate U.S. Olympian, and Max Dadashev, who's an up-and-coming Russian fighter who's really tough against Darley Perez. And I think every card, if fans really want to get a look at who's going to be there in a year and a half to 2 years, just look at the undercard and watch it, whether it's streamed on ESPN or any other platform. It's a good, telescope to see, okay, we know who's fighting in the main event in the co-features. Who are these guys coming up? And you can gauge, because of the way technology is now, how these guys are in their 6th fight or their 10th fight or whatever it might be, and in a year from now see where they are. And I think that's the great part of being, watching the ESPN app or anything else that's streamed, is you really get to see young prospects and their development, where in, the last decade or so you didn't really get to hear about a guy till he might have been 17-0 or something. Here you really see the growth of young kids, and I think that's just great for the sport overall.
Who are you most looking forward to in the undercard, Carl?
Max Dadashev has got the toughest fight on the undercard. He's in with a veteran, Darley Perez from Colombia, who has fought for world titles. He has beaten good contenders. He's lost to a couple as well. Max is only 11-0 right now. Maybe some more fights. That fight kind of intrigues me because he's in the junior welterweight division, which is a real interesting division since Crawford has left. You have everybody vying to get to the top. So if he can beat Darley Perez, I think it really sheds a spotlight on him, on what's going to happen for him the rest of 2018 and certainly move into 2019. And then obviously the progression of Shakur Stevenson, who is really coming into his own physically. You're talking about a 20-year-old kid and in the featherweight division, which is loaded with talent. But here's a kid with a lot of talent himself and confidence, throughout. So those two guys are really going to raise an eyebrow, I think, for everybody.
Carl, I followed Shakur Stevenson when he was even before he was even in the Olympics, and this kid that you guys signed, he's going to be the future of boxing, and I think to face the top rank in the future. Are you guys very high? You guys are very high on this kid. What is it about him that makes him so special?
Well, the pedigree of the amateur career, the quality sparring that he has in each camp, the professional manner he goes about training and fighting. He's just coming into his own, and that talent and that work ethic is coming through each time. And, he wants a challenge. He wants to fight a better fighter each time out. He wants to be challenged, and that's what we're trying to do for him. You got to remember he's only 20 years old, but we really have to pull back sometimes on who you're going to fight and stuff, because there shouldn't be a rush. You should let it happen naturally. But everything that we thought of him coming out of the amateurs is now really coming into momentum, and each fight he gets a little bit better. You can see him get less, further away from the amateur game, the amateur habit, sit down on his punches more often, become a professional. And, that's due to the dedication and the work that he does in camp with his coaches and everything else and his physical training. This just doesn't happen overnight. You have to work at it. And this kid certainly knows what that's all about, and that's why you see this success.
Follow him at Carl Moretti on Twitter, the VP of Boxing Ops for Top Rank, toprank.com. Check him out. Carl, we appreciate the time tonight. We're looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Appreciate your support, and we'll see you Saturday night for sure. Thanks very much.